In this video, we want to introduce the concept of operations management and see what operations management is all about. For a start, it's normally abbreviated as OM, operations management, and it's concerned with any activities or processes that create goods and provide services. And there are many examples of this. For example, forecasting. Now, it's a service and it's produced by some companies, and it's also used by companies in trying to understand the market in which they operate. The marketing section, for example, the marketing department may want forecasts of future trends or trends in the market or whatever. So some companies produce forecasts, that is their business. Others use forecasting as a way of improving their efficiency and improving their position in the market. It could be scheduling work, scheduling production. It's a service, and it's a necessary service within the industry. So the operations management will schedule efficient use of resources, schedule the machines perhaps on the shop floor in a way that is efficient use of the available resources. It'll also look at quality, the quality of the product. That's a part of the operations management team remit, to look at the quality and to ensure that quality is maintained and even improved as time goes by. Of course, it looks at production as well. It's concerned with production. Operations management, the title almost suggests production. So it must look at the way raw materials are transformed into usable products that meet customer requirements. And it looks at constraints within the organization, bottlenecks, inefficiencies. It looks at tooling up machines and the movement of goods within the company and so on. So it's to deal with the doing part of the business, the part of the business that converts the components and the raw materials into the finished product. It also looks at stock management. It looks at the stores policy to see if items are overstocked or if there are the possibility of what's known as stockouts. A stockout is when the company runs out of a certain key raw material or a certain key component, and that leads to a standstill, which is extremely inefficient, and the overheads of the business continue, but the company is producing nothing because it doesn't have the required components or raw materials. There's a stockout. So that's a serious situation, one to be avoided, and it's the functions of the operations management team, the function of the operations management team, to avoid the possibility of a stockout. But at the same time, they should also avoid holding too many items in stock. Investment in stock, which is held in the stores, is dead. It's the money that's tied up in the stock is dead. It could be working for the business. It could be improving cash flow, or it could be spent elsewhere, perhaps more productively. So excess stocks are a waste of resources as well. So it's getting the balance right. That's important. And of course, logistics. That needs to be dealt with as well, and it's the job of the operations management to make sure that the whole process of dispatch and delivery to the customer is done efficiently, that lorries or vans are not travelling around empty or half full or half empty, depends on how you look at it. But it's to ensure that there's some sort of logic in the dispatch of the goods. Logic in the sense that the vans are full, the the dispatch department that sends the goods to the customer, that department is run efficiently as well. So you can see from the list here, the remit of the operations management is very wide ranging, but all essential tasks that must be completed efficiently if the business is going to generate the profit that it expects and why it's set up in the first place. It's difficult to say how important everything is. It varies widely from business to business. Manufacturing might be a big proportion of the costs, and marketing could be a big proportion of costs. But there are other departments, the human resource department, there's the research and development, so that the business has a long run position in the market with innovative products. So there are many departments that are not really covered in my little chart here. But you can see how operations management fits in. It's a requirement of the business that the business itself processes the raw materials and components in an efficient manner, that they're stocked efficiently, that they're handled at the final stage to the customer, and that's done efficiently as well. So it's an important function in business. The management of systems or processes that create goods or provide services. That's what we mean by operations management. It's the management of systems or processes that creates goods or provides services. So it's the doing part of the business. It's all the parts of the business, I suppose, are doing, but this is the one that is converting the raw materials. It's the essential core of the business. It's converting the raw materials into final products. It's converting the components into final products, products that have been made specifically to meet the customer requirements. And the customer requirements, of course, have been determined by the marketing department, and the marketing department will be instrumental in getting the orders that the operations management will complete and dispatch. So all the parts of the business run together, but this is the, if you like, the core of the business. This is what the doing part of the business, in the sense of completing the core, actually making the product, taking the raw materials and converting it into the final product. So if we imagine a very simplistic organizational chart, we could have finance, operations, marketing. There are many other sections, obviously, the HR section, research and development, as I said. There are many parts to it, but I've just picked three here. And what I'm trying to say here in this diagram is that operations is one of the key, if not the key, area of concern. It's the core of the business. This is what makes the product. The distinct active role of operations. Well, the active role of organizations is to convert inputs into outputs. So operations deals with the transformation of inputs into outputs. That's a way of looking at operations management. It's converting the inputs into outputs. It's converting the raw materials and the components into outputs. And the outputs, of course, coincide with customer requirements. We could take a very simple example just to drive home the point. Let's say we want to make a table. Let's say we have a business that makes tables. Well, we have here, let's say, three parts to this. We have inputs. We're going to make tables. We have inputs. We have processes. How is the table going to be made? And the outputs. The outputs are the tables that are produced. So we would start by checking the requirements and place orders. We check the requirements. That's a process. We find out what orders have come in for tables. So we need to find out how many tables are needed, are required. And we place orders for the inputs. We place order for the inputs that we require. And when the inputs arrive, we store them, waiting to be used. So the inputs arrive and they go to stores. And of course we complete all the paperwork, the advice note that comes with the goods saying what has been delivered, and we tell the accounts payable section that the goods have arrived and the supplier should be paid, and so on. So we have, the process starts. We're going to build tables. We have worked out how many tables have been ordered. We know what the requirements are because we've got drawings of the tables, and we place orders for the raw materials and the bits and pieces we're going to need to build the tables. So we'd start with wood. We'll say that these are wooden tables, and we cut the wood to the required sizes. We look at the drawings and cut the wood to the required sizes, and then we stock the prepared wooden parts. We have cut all the wooden parts into the required shapes and length and so on. Now we put them into stock, ready for the next section. The next section which will process this wood, the wood that has been cut. So that's one function that's been done. Now we may glue the wooden parts and create joints. There might be whatever, mortise and tenon joints or dovetail joints or whatever. So the wood is assembled and glued together. So the process is the assembly, and the inputs is the glue and the wooden parts, and the output is the table, because once it's done we have created the table. We might want to stain the table to make it look nice, so we have wood stain, and the process here is we apply the wood stain and then we get the finished table. And having got the finished table, we wrap it in protective material, in some sort of wrapping to protect it, and it's ready for dispatch. And then we dispatch the table and complete the order, complete the paperwork as well. So it's a very simple example, but operations management is vital in ensuring that the wood that came in at the start was converted into the table. That's what operations management does. Now, the types of operations management, well, we have primary production. That's a type of operation which looks at farming, mining, forestry, fishing. It's sometimes known as the extractive industries. We are taking directly from the earth. We're gone back to the very source of the raw materials, or in the case of farming, the source of food. In mining, the extractive ore that we take out, it could be coal or it could be gold or whatever. Forestry, coming directly from the earth as well, and fishing, of course, coming from the seas. We also have secondary production, which is construction and manufacturing. We normally think of operations management in the context of manufacturing, but it could be in the context of construction, or indeed of the primary sectors. There's no reason why not. Operations management is necessary to ensure efficient farming. Farmers are very good, generally speaking, operations managers. They run their business. So it could apply to mining, forestry, fishing, whatever. But also the last part, which is known as the tertiary sector, the third level, the tertiary sector, which would be hotels, restaurants, warehousing, transport, trade, retailing, wholesaling, banking, education, radio, music, tourism, journalism, communications, and I'm sure a lot more. This is the service sector. And again, operations management is important in that sector, because operations management ensures that the business runs smoothly, and the core activity of the business, that of converting the inputs to the outputs, is done efficiently. So operations management is an essential part of the tertiary sector as well. So operations management, well, it's the core of all business organizations. The business organization will be there to produce some good or service, and operations management is the function that deals with that production, the production of the good or the service. There are many interrelated areas with operations management. Marketing, for example, will feed in, will inform the operations managers of orders coming through and what's likely to happen in the next 6 months or whatever. Personnel and the human resource part of the business will be involved to ensure that the health and safety issues are met and morale is met and remuneration and negotiations and recruitment and so on. So there are many parts that are interrelated with operations management. It's critical that the operations management section is efficient, because that's where the competitive advantage that the business will have lies. It is in efficient production, getting a product that the customer wants of good quality and produced efficiently at low cost. That's where the business can get its competitive advantage. There are three basic functions. Operations and production. This is goods orientated, manufacturing and assembly. So one is where you're manufacturing something or assembling it and making it. It's a physical product. We also have a service orientated part, which could be related to education or healthcare, transportation, retailing, hotels, whatever. The service orientated business, in this case, the company is producing a service. But again, an operations management team is necessary to ensure that the service is produced efficiently. So the fact that it's not tactile, it can't be touched, is neither here nor there. It's a service, but it needs to be produced efficiently. And the operations team must look at value added. They must take the raw materials, or if it's a service, take the available personnel and see what can be added in terms of the basic service to ensure that there is good value added and profitability at the end. In the case of manufacturing, it takes raw materials and adds value to the raw materials. It could take sheets of metal and convert the sheets of metal into something which the customers want. It's adding value to the metal. It could be finance and accounting. The functions of business organization could be to work with the senior management in drawing up budgets, because the business, the operations management team, I should say, they have an expertise in what is required. So they can feed into the budgetary process to make sure that budgets are developed accurately. But also they can monitor the budgets. They know what should be spent. They know when it should be spent. So they have a big role in the whole budgetary process. And they also will have an expertise in terms of investment and the appraisal of investment opportunities. They will know when machines are wearing out and what the replacements needed, and they will be able to work out what is the most efficient way to make investment expenditure, to acquire certain machines or acquire certain functionality, and to ensure that the machines bought in are specific and will be used optimally within the organization. They also, related to the budgetary part, they know what the provision of funds are, and they know what, or they should know what the efficient organisation will cost and what the efficient organisation needs, what the requirements are. So they have a good idea of what the funds necessary to run the business are as well. So they're able to keep senior management informed of all of those areas. The marketing section can link to the operations management section, or indeed you may see the marketing section as operations management, depending on what has been sold, depending on the nature of the business. But certainly there should be communications. If there are two separate departments, there should be good communications between them, because marketing is the section that's going to inform the operations management of what is required in terms of services to be produced or goods to be produced. But they also, the marketing section will engage in promotions activities and so on, and it could be that if it's a marketing business, that the operations management team are actually the marketing team. Maybe the marketing team is the operations management team, that it's a marketing business, in which case promotion and looking at ways of promoting goods and services is part of the core activity of the business. It's necessary to work out what customers' wants and needs are, and that's a central role in the marketing effort. And it's ensuring that either it's met through a service, the customer wants and needs are met through the service that's required, or it's met through the acquisition of a product and the product meets the wants and needs. But one way or the other, the marketing section is responsible for picking up on what is wanted, what is required, what the customers are looking for, and trying to satisfy those wants and needs. And it's necessary to communicate the needs and the wants and so on to the operations. It's important that the marketing function, if it is a separate department within the organisation, it's important that they have good lines of communications with the operations management team. So the operations management team can prepare for orders that are about to come in. They can ensure that they've got the stock ready to, the raw materials I should say, ready to produce, and the machines are ready, and the personnel who are involved, the key people who are going to be involved in the production of, let's say, the good, these people have been briefed so that the organisation is ready to efficiently produce the product and get it to the customer in a timely manner. So we've got our three basic functions. We have our operations function, marketing and finance. And we'll say here that we have three different sections in the organisation. We could extend this, set of Venn diagrams, or this Venn diagram I should say. This could be extended to include HR, research and development. There are many strands to the business. It depends critically on the nature of the business, but these are basic functions. These are the essential functions. The business must be run financially on a sound footing. The operations must be able to work out what the core activity of the business is and deliver that core activity efficiently. Marketing must have its finger on the pulse and know what the customer requirements are. So we have three basic functions, but of course, as I just said, we could have other functions added on, research and development and so on. So now we've got an idea of what operations management is. It's looking at the core activity of the business, which is the production of a service that satisfies customers' needs, or it's the production of a good, a product that again addresses some need that the customers have. And the production of the service or the good is moved through the organization by the operations management team, and it's moved through the organization in an efficient manner, right from raw materials, let's say, to the finished product. And that is the function of operations management. That's all we're going to do in this session. We've got a few more videos on the topic to get deeper, but this is just a general, very light introduction to the idea behind operations management. And that's all I'm going to deal with in this session. So I'm going to say thank you for watching.